So this is day 33 of the 60-day series where we talk about the 5 layers of AI, and we're going to build a very awesome project today, something that deals with payments or payment processing or payment gateway or something. Just in that line, just get that context. So yesterday we talked about, or rather we enhanced one existing scenario where it was adding an API call. The functionality, not even one, I believe we did two, right? And I also showed you numerous examples, and all this is something that I believe you could offer to a client for just like 15 more minutes. The first one we did was an email verifier or validator, or an email, and the second one is the phone number validator. So these two things were very crucial, and because it's also very crucial to the businesses we are working with, and that was why I decided to add that into this. Anyway, today is going to be a different use case, but the same process or similar process rather. If you are watching this for the first time, once again, this is the day 33 of the 60 days series where I break down the 5 layers of AI, starting from prompt engineering, AI automation, AI agents, to even building agentic AI systems. I believe you can look beyond the hype of AI and learn how to use it effectively, and not only use it but even make money by building systems for businesses, companies as well. And because I do this currently, so I believe anyone else can do it if you also follow the same process I currently use. So I'm breaking every single thing down, I'm adding every single step and everything. I basically do this way by showing you this. So I put together every single thing I'm going to talk every single day in a resource guide or Notion, so I get to cover the core part of what you need to know every day without forgetting anything. So anyway, let's go right straight to the point. So we have a new scenario. What I mean here is that we have a new analogy. In this case, a client accepts your proposal and it gets recorded on Notion. You know what we've been building all this while. Once again, what we are building today works for your client can also work for you as well. So all these things, I believe, are also preparing you for a situation where you need to work for someone and also get paid and manage your entire business using AI automation. So you can, in these states, a client wants to pay you, right? And you save every single thing in your CRM, but you need a payment gateway or a payment processor which collects the payments. It is going to create like a link with the exact invoice amount, and it's going to send an email to the client as well, where at the end of the day you also be able to automatically update the Notion record with the payment URL, or everything automated. So what you want to build now is your own payment processor that sends an email to your client, let the client pay, and then it's going to update you with the payment link. Then you get to manage every single thing on Notion as well. So the old way would have required you to manually log into Paystack or any other payment provider. Paystack, if you're not aware, is a payment gateway or payment processor for Nigerians and also some other part of the continent, Africa, basically. But however, I believe that you can use this same process, and I'm going to show you also examples, or I'm going to reference it, of other payment processors like Stripe. I'm going to use as reference, and various others as well, including the one I use personally. So when you do all these things, I believe you can have all this set up and under 12 minutes actually, if I'm going to go in depth, so you get to understand what each of the steps are for, and so that you don't have to, so that you don't break anything, and so that when you spend a lot, so that in a case when it was very hard for you to get a client in the first place, probably very hard for you to get a client in the first place, you'll be able to, okay. So in order to have every single time, I believe that's a lot of time spent. However, I believe you could save the time that you have to do things manually in the process of your business or that for your clients. Remember, one of the things we want to create for business owners and founders is for the time factor. So the new way we're going to do, in under 8 seconds, I believe that every single thing will be processed and you'll be paid and everything is settled. Anyway, let's just connect the dots real quick now. So on day 27, I remember that we talked about reading documentations, and this is going to be applied in Paystack docs as well. On day 28, the second one was the HTTP module, which I'm also going to use, where we talked about the post request. And that is the main thing we're going to use today rather than a GET request. We're going to use a post request where we use the JSON body as well to send out this request. And we're going to make use of webhooks because Paystack can send webhooks when payment is received. So we're going to set up the trigger side today. The webhook side is for a future scenario. So we're going to set up that same trigger side today. Now the last, okay, not the last one though, is the bearer token authentication. Because Paystack uses this exact same pattern where you need to also include that when you want to request or when you want to, which you are also going to include that when you want to request or you want to post as well. So, and lastly, that was day 31. We talked about the JSON, and this is where Paystack response. Also, if I will point it out, as a data object containing this URL, and I'm going to need that, where it has a nested JSON access. Every concept that we're going to do basically today is based on that. Anyway, so I have this resource guide for you, and basically the four things we're going to cover today is the Paystack API documentation I put together, which is going to be here. So we're going to read the steps. These are 5 steps under 8 minutes, and the HTTP module post call with a JSON body. We're going to add a bearer authentication and real invoice data as well, and also a real world API nuance where we actually have to make a little tweak around something, because Paystack, if you do check around it, Paystack actually accepts payments in kobo. It processes it when using the API in kobo. I had to search on this while I was working on gathering these results together. So this is the amount displayed to the customer, right? However, when it comes to using the API, you have to multiply it by 100, which is something we are also going to make use of here. So, and right after that, we are going to have a 4-step scenario where we have the Notion trigger, and it's going to send to Paystack. From Paystack, it's going to send to the Gmail, and from the Gmail to your Notion update as well, to ensure that you are going to update that client and this client has paid, basically. So anyway, the first step is the 5-step. The first part is the 5-step Paystack API, which is what we have here. So as you can see this now, this starting from the base URL as usual, this shows right here is the introduction, that's the HTTP. This is the base URL basically. This is the base URL, and all endpoints append to this base URL. The second one we have here is the authentication, where we have to bring in the bearer token, which is a classic pattern that we know. The header, that's authorization. This time around, this is not. We're not using the order type. We're not using just the API. So we're using a bearer token now, and this time around we have to use authorization, right? And one thing I also want to show you is this bearer token itself. It has a little bit of change where you are going to note that difference. I think I believe I mentioned that a couple of days ago, where there are slight differences, even though we could have the same authorization and bearer as well. Anyway, we are going to work around this. When we're using the abstract API, that was yesterday on day 32, we put the key inside a query string, but today Paystack puts it in the authorization header this time around, and we're going to use a bearer token format basically. So they are like 2 different APIs, 2 different authentication patterns, and this is something that I also got from the documents on Paystack. So the way this works is that you're going to get your test key. I opened an account and you're going to get your test key on Paystack dashboard. This is it here. So you're going to create an account. You're going to go to paystack.com. You create an account, just set it up. It's just like a couple of questions. They are not, since you're not going to activate your account yet for production mode, everything is still on test mode. You can see mine here. So I set up this account real quick for test mode, and you can see my keys here. Every single thing you see here for test mode. So you are going to access this after creating your account. You're going to access this down below on settings. So on settings is going to take you directly to profile. Then you have to go for API keys and webhooks. So this is where you are going to pick out, right? And this is your text secret key here. So this is mine. This is mine. No issue since it's a test key. And let's go back. So as for the endpoint is to post, right? You guys understand we have to, post as well, since we are the one sending a request. This time around, we're not trying to get a request. So this is going to create like a payment link, which Paystack calls it initializing a transaction, basically. And the last, is this the last step? No, not the last step. The fourth step are the required parameters. That's where we need to add the customer email address, the payment amount. There is a very important one, is that payment amount, which I already mentioned, where I said that the smallest, it's like this, in the amount field, the smallest currency units for Naira is the kobo, right? So 100 kobo is equals to 1 Naira. So that means if you want to collect a payment of 150,000 Naira, for example, you need to add 100 more. So you need to multiply by 100. You need to multiply rather by 100. So that should be 15. Maybe that should be 15 million. That should be 15 million kobo. Wow, that is crazy. That's 15 million kobo. Anyway, so this is the kind of thing that if you don't ensure you put this in place, it's going to break your API call first. So you need to ensure that you read documentations carefully in this case. The endpoint is going to accept if what you call for is 15,000 or probably 150,000 Naira, for example. It's not going to give you an error. But the thing that's going to happen is that it's going to give you a payment divided by 100. So that is basically 150,000 divided by 100. That is 1,500. And that is imagine a client paying you 1,500 when they are supposed to pay you 150,000. So you need to ensure that you read API documentations carefully anytime you are using these platforms or these services. So Vue APIs have specific requirements like this actually, and they're always in the document. So just read them. Other optional useful fields that we are going to see here, like what we see here is the callback URL. This callback URL. This is everything is test. So, however, this is a callback URL. This is where you redirect after payment. So the reference here that we can put here is like your own transaction reference for tracking. So your own transaction reference for tracking, and the currency as well. The first two, NG, that's NGN rather, that's Nigerian Naira, and you can also set it to USD, that's US dollar, Ghana cedis as well, etc. Now, finally, the thing I'm going to show you here is the response structure. When you look at this response structure, this entire thing, you see the status is true, the authorization URL is created, the data authorization, every single thing here from the field. This is the field that you need. You need a field that says response status. That is based on this status. It wants to understand, it wants to know if it is true. So it's going to check this before sending an email. That is on the scenario we're going to build. So it's going to check this, and the response data authorization URL too. That's the payments link that's going to attach to the email, which is going to send to the client, right? So, and the last one is response data reference. We have to save this on Notion for tracking, because you need this to be saved for tracking in any case where you want to know the amount and you want to know what you have, set in place. And the last one is a data authorization URL. This is going to be a nested object. It's these are just basically things that we're all going to use. These are things that we're going to make use of in our building. So well, let's start building. That's what we have here. And yeah, so that's what we have here. So here is a complete scenario. We have 4 modules now. We're going to set every single thing up on Notion. We're going to set every single thing up on make.com. So you can follow along with every single thing we have here. Just follow along. One thing you need to note, you have your client database. So have that set up, and there are a couple of things you need to also adjust. This is where the price is going to be, and there are a couple of things you have to adjust. Like the status, we need to work on the status as well. We need to add more, because we need to add an example where it tells us to proposal request, like sent. We need all this so as to trigger the actions on make.com. So we're going to work along with this same database. So I really do hope you have used this in the past, and you've built this while we're building while we're building a couple of days ago. So the first thing we're going to build is our trigger, which is our Notion watch database item. And what we're going to watch for is going to be, we're going to watch for, hold on, is it just 1 or 2? Okay, let's just build proposal accepted. Should be proposal accepted, I believe. That's what we're going to use anyway. So let's do this. Let's create a new scenario, and we're going to use Notion. So watch, going to watch objects, watch big content, watch events, watch data source item. Okay, watch lead status change. But what we're actually doing is watch for updated items. So what we're going to do is watch update the data source. We're going to watch for this instead. So where we're going to target this time around is a bit different. We have our lead tracker, right? We're going to have to make a connection to Notion. I doubt this is connected. Let's see. So let's take this camera off. And we are connected to lead tracker. So we're going to type in clients then. Clients. And okay, the created time, we're going to limit it to 2. 2 is quite okay. Save, and from now on, yes, thank you. So this will require us to, while we're watching for these changes. Now you need to know that this is a polling trigger this time around. That means you need to set it, and I mentioned this here. Yes, I already mentioned it here, where I said this is a minimum of 15 minutes on free plans and 1 minute on paid. So ours is going to be on, let's say this is on 15 minutes for now. 15 minutes is okay. Then when we want to run this, we can later change it to 1 minute. If you are using a paid make.com account, you can decide to use it as every 1 minute. If you are using it actively for your business, you can use it for every 1 minute. So that's what is here for, at least almost instant triggering. So what we have next should be, let's see. So the watch data source item. The next thing we're going to bring in is the HTTP module. This is a filter. I'm trying to see if, okay, so this is just a filter we're going to add right in between. And the HTTP module is next, so let's just jump right into that instead. We have this, go in here, HTTP, make a request, maybe a post, and we have this URL. And this time around, let me take my key. Can I add my key? Sorry, this is my, it's public test key. This is secret key. So we have our secret key. So remember, you can have this when it comes to the authorization and all this. You could actually just set every single thing up by doing this. If you do remember this API key, then you're going to choose a key. Let's add a new one. This is my Paystack API key, auth key, and we're going to use this key. This key that we're using here actually is this. We're using the test secret key. This particular one is what we're using. This one with the SK tests. That's what we're using. Let's go. Okay, I should have entered this instead. So we're going to rather let me just should I just copy this? Let me copy this. We actually need to map in. We need to map in. Anyway, no. This is meant to have. Remember, we made a mistake like this a couple of days ago. Remember to add this barrier and a space right in between, please. Add the space right in between. And authorization, yes, this is what you're using. And in the header, yes. So you create and you have this in already. So the next one we need is we need the body. So pick this out and just use a JSON string and bring this from here. Use it here. So you can pass response. And what is next? What is next? So these two came a couple of things though, and this is email, property email, property email. Nope, don't do that. This is their email. Use their email instead. Let me see if I'm with the right. If I'm with the right database, because I really need to be sure here. We have 38 and okay, 0 right now. Yes, we are with the right one. Sorry, 0 okay, 97E00, 97E00. Yeah, that is correct. That is actually correct. So we have not saved this though, but this and this for the property, this is monthly retainer. Yes, so this is where we add this is where we had our, let me just make it easier for myself. Alright, so this is where we have, I want to ensure I pick this out very well. The first, you hold this and yes, so this is it. So multiply this okay, so you multiply this by this, and that is where we are going to add. I really did make a mistake again. So you paste this once again. Please ensure you have this in place. Yes, so map this in for monthly retainer. Where's monthly retainer? Map this in directly and delete this by yourself. Yes, just leave it this way. Multiply this instead. So this is where we do our work. And we have this deleted. Then we're mapping in this. Let's see. The ID, database item ID. We're mapping this in this database item ID. Then the callback, we can use our own. So let's just use xq.com/payment complete. And currency is Nigerian naira. Yeah, so we have this set in place now. Is there anything left for us? Invalid parameter, this. So with this in, I had to actually work on something. It took me a little bit of time, but I had to adjust what I added here. So we have something better here now. That's why just what I added here. And to be very honest, I used AI to adjust it because at one point I was like confused. Okay, so yeah, in any case, when you are working and you do need, this is one of the ways you could use AI to actually help you out. And that was where I used AI to, I explained every single thing. And I told AI, you know what, this is what I have and this is what I need you to do. Let me show you. Yeah, let's look at this. You can see this. So I said I'm putting blah 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 blah. I added every single thing. I even ran this module as well. I ran this module and I brought out the output here, and I made it understand what exactly I was trying to do, because the formula I had it was not right. The formula I had it was not right, and I discovered that the main difference I can see here, or why it was not right, is because this is 1, and what I have here, this is one of the, let me say, I wouldn't call it silly, but one of the silly mistakes that you could actually make when you're setting all this up. When you see these modules, I already created a module here before, and you can see what we have here. This is module 2. I created another module. This is module 4. So you can see what is going on now. You need to just be aware of every single thing that you're working on. So this is me saying, yeah, I did make a mistake, and what you always need to be aware of this. And in cases where you discover that you are lost at one point, the best thing to do, so far you do understand the project you're working on, you need to request what AI's help sometimes. And I did, and it gave me a correct one instead. You can see I'm using it 2. You can see the difference. This is funny. It's funny. Anyway, so let us continue what we are building. So we've added this. And one thing you will notice in this body here is this multiplication. This 100 is something we've added already in place. And where we got this, or where AI got this, and where I got this is, you see some of this functions already exist. When it comes to math, you can see it here. So you can add a multiplication here. What I had before was in text format, where I said multiply by, and that is wrong. When I make .comma, we need to ensure we use operators well, and this is what I decided to use, which is actually the correct one. This is a multiplication operator here, multiply by 100. So whatever value of the retainer here, this is basically saying this. So this is a $500, right? Multiplied by 100. But in this case, this is 500. Let's say this is 500 naira, right? But it's going to give me a 500 kobo instead. So I need it at what, 500 naira. That's multiplied by 100, which will make it what, 2 more. That is 50,000. So that's just an example. Anyway, let us go on with this. So this is the reference field. This is the reference field it's going to create. What you see here is going to create a reference field right from the database ID. Now, how is it creating this? That is more like an invoice, and it's telling it reference from whoever the person is. And crazy thing enough, the person is that Dave or Danny? So, and the person is let's see. This is coming from, that is 38 and the 77 right inside. So that's 38 and the 77, right? So this is 38 and the 77. This is not. This is 38 and the 77. Nope. This is 38 and the 77. Okay. What we're looking for is actually within all this. Yes, this is it. 38 and the 77. So we're using from Dave, directly from Dave. Alright, so that's what we're using. I mean, you do understand what I showed you just now. I was trying to confirm I was going to create a unique reference to that particular Notion page ID, to that client himself. So it just referred me directly to the client, and you open it by what? You see, this is the database, this is the ID for Dave, and you're able to recognize it easily. So what we do next now, right after that we've set it up, the next thing we do is a Gmail. So we're going to create a send payment link Gmail, and that's where we look for Gmail. We've made a connection in the past, so this is going to be pretty easy for us. If you've not made a connection, I mean everyone watching this should have made a connection by now. Alright, so I'm going to have this in, and this is the content we have, and it says the amount which is property. Now another thing, you can see the mistake I made. Right where I told you I'm using what for this is a 2. That is why I had one of my first mistake out right there. So the amount is whichever amount I had here, which is monthly return at 500, and this is in Naira, for example, and your invoice is ready. This is 2. Okay, every single thing I included here. Let me just bring it. This is the subject. Your invoice is ready. Click to pick. Your invoice is ready. Click to pay rather, and that's alright, and that's 2. So we're sending it to, this is the recipient. We're sending it to his email, that is dave@gmail.com. We need to change that to probably my email. So you can pay securely via the link below. 3 data authorization URL. Okay, however, this is not correct. Whatever we are taking from here, we've not gotten the value from here. This is one thing you need to know. So this is wrong. This is meant to be a 2. It's actually meant to be a 2. It's going to show a 4 instead, but like it's meant to come from here. That's what I mean. So we have to map something right from that instead. So anyway, the link is active. Once payment is confirmed, we'll begin the onboarding process within 24 hours. Any questions, just reply to this email. So whatever we have here, I'm going to try to tweak it a bit and see if that can work out for us. Let's use a 4 instead. This is where we use this instead. You see what I did there? It doesn't exist, but it's going to pop in. This is a trick I use. Anyway, so we have this saved. What is it telling us to do? It doesn't exist yet. Body type must not be empty. It will be empty. Body type for HTML. This is correct. What is that correct? This is correct. So what does it say here? Yes, it doesn't exist, right? Yes, it's going to exist very soon. So now the last one we're going to create now is this. We've created this. This is quite easy. And this note 3, this. Just if the scenario has different arrangements, yeah, we're going to work on that. This data authorization URL is something we're going to see directly from when we run this. When this becomes active, it's currently not active. That's why we're unable to map anything in. So the next thing we're going to create is this module. That is module 4. And we're not copying and pasting it. So this is update lead record. Now what is this going to do? This is basically going to say, remember we've not done our filter. This is quite crazy. We've actually not done our filter. And we can do our filter. So let's do our filter first. So we have to set in a filter. Because if we don't, whatever runs here is going to just pass through immediately. Whatever runs here is going to pass through immediately. So our filter needs to be something called, when you see this, proposal accept check. That is what we're trying to do here. And how do we get that here? We made something else, not proposal accepted. We contract signed. That was what we made here instead. So that is what we're going to use. Contract signed is what we're going to use here instead. So it's basically equals to what we're trying to use here. So signed. Okay. Though we do have it as a status. The thing now is that we have a couple of things that we built in place. System built. Okay. The other thing is review dates. Then this is meant to be our status. How many status do we have here? So we have this. This is not a status. This is not a status as well. So that means it's actually really meant to be here instead. So it's meant to be one of all these status here, which says we need to edit it, and we need to let it say that is proposal accepted. Proposal accepted. Proposal accepted. Accepted. And we can use a different color for this. Let's use an orange color. And I believe there's another one I had there, which we have to also make changes on. When this sees the status is proposal accepted and payment URL does not exist. Yes, this does not exist. Let's see. This does not exist. We don't have anything called payment URL here yet. So that is why we also create that as well. Payment URL. We can use that as a text. As a payment URL. Payment URL. Let's see, maybe we can still use the URL itself. I'd rather leave it as a text, because I believe that when we send it back, we're going to put something right beside it. We're going to leave it as a text for now, and our payment URL does not exist. So that's what we're going to do now. And let's go in and set our filter. Well, we might decide to run only this, run this module. Let's run this alone. Okay, so what we're going to do first is let's reload this so it gets to update, and the next thing we have to do is to run this module alone. It's going to tell us this, and we're going to say all, we're going to save it, and we're going to run it again. Alright, so whatever it gives us this time around, just waiting, then going. Yes, so does it give us something called a payment URL? Yes, so now we can do our filters. Actually set up our filter now. So the filter we're setting here is, let's just say this and this. That's the filter we're setting. So this now, the first one is this, contract signed. Contract signed is a checkbox. If our contract is signed, to say yes, if we do this, it's actually going to say yes. So that means it's Boolean. Equals to true. Do you know what I checked for innately? I checked for if there was a case sensitive. Remember how a Boolean operator works? So you need to always ensure it is like this. So what's the next one? And an AND rule, right? This is for payments link, and that is to say payment URL. That payment URL content or link anyone does not exist. So let's save this now. Save anyway. So we're going to run this, and we're going to need this to also work, so we can use this to also mark it in as well. So let's remove this and save. So let's run this now. Finally, we're going to say that is a 500, right? And this is yes, already ticked yes, and is also going to what? Payment URL does not exist. Payment URL does not exist. So these two, what's this? Let's run that now and see what happens. So let's run this. Okay, so what happened just now? This, choose where to start. Okay, so we had an error. Open log, we can check here instead. The JSON body content is not valid. Unexpected amount. Explain, let's see the amount. So the format number, blah blah blah. Yeah, so make.com couldn't pass this. Contains, let's see. Do we have a value here? We do have a value here. What would it say that then? What would it say that? Let's go in and see. So it worked this time around, and it's 50,000. Yes, it actually worked. I sent, okay, I've not sent email. So what I did again, I had to work on this same thing. I have to work on it again. Let's see. this is quite taxing. But when you face things like this, it's actually fun. In a way, it is fun. Let's see. What was the difference? See what happened just now? Let's look at it. And I really need to know the difference between this. So let me see. Let me just put it right here. The difference between this and this that I was able to get out. My God, are you kidding me? 1, 2, then 1, 2. Are you kidding me? So that was the difference. That was actually the difference. When you look into this, what I added before, when you look into this, you could just change this to 1, because in your own case you might have to use the first one or something. So now the difference between this and this is exactly where I added this. If you do remember, this is a very if you do remember what we have here, this is being mapped. This exact one is being mapped, right? What we have here is being mapped. What we have here is being mapped. But I added this without adding. I did add it. Wait, it's a number. Since it's a number, okay. I see what I did there now. So I added it right from here instead. At this point, I might be sounding like crazy right in front of you, but there's a reason for this. Anyway, so what we have here is the correct one. And I have this was corrected now. So now this is working perfectly. One thing you need to just do, in this case, the same thing I would advise you also apply here is you consulting AI. In case you are making any mistake, you need to consult AI to look through even the smallest detail if you missed anything. So the coiling braces was actually what I missed today, and that was what made me make that mistake. So when we see this, we need to always be sure that what we're using is correct. So what I had in the body was what, just because of the coiling braces, I had it right after this, rather than starting sorry, I received the call. Anyway, so that was what caused it. So what we have now is correct. Now we can map this in using this. What we need here is just this one. We need this. So we need to see if we do have kept alive, override. Let's see, set cookie. Okay. Alright. Data authorization URL. This is what we need for this. This is the checkout link. And you can see it's almost the same. However, it just needs what? By one more. So this is what we need here. And we're going to send it over to this person, right? And we need this as well. This is the person's name. So we need to say Dave. Hi Dave. We added the 0 right in between. So hi Dave, this with a monthly. Okay. I mean, that is actually what we need. So this is the checkout. This is the link you're going to click on. And we have all these things set up. Then what we need right after this is an update. So update it. We're actually working on this before. So update the lead records. So what we did was to take from what we took from lead status changes database. We use the data from database leads. Let's see, and we use clients database instead. I believe I've made a mistake somewhere now, but this is something that can be worked on. Wow. So let's see, have we included that? Did we actually include that? Status, contacted, qualified, closed. status, source. This is source. This is related. I believe we should still be able to use this instead. The thing is that this person is still a lead, not a client, because we are working with this person, though based on whichever condition you place it. What I mean here is that you could actually be working with this person. You could be working using, like, probably you get paid first, you get a payment first before you start, or you are working and you get results first, or you get whatever you build first before you are paid, whichever way you are being paid. In this case, what I did was me being paid while the person has been onboarded. So during the onboarding phase is when I decide that this person is going to pay, not when the person is still a lead. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, this condition of being a lead, it is like when you are on Upwork, you don't get paid, you have to do the work first, though you guys initiate a contract. However, what I did right outside there is taking the person to an onboarding phase. That's using a client database this time around. I'm taking this person to an onboarding phase and saying this person is still probably proposal accepted here, right? This is actually what I wanted to use until I decide to use this. I can say proposal accepted here, if probably right after the call, right? Proposal accepted, and then the onboarding, then that means this is going to change to either, in this case now, I can change this since the person has paid to either onboarding or to active. So I can try to put this person on active right after. Let's see. So once this person is in, I'm going to, let us do that instead. So what we're going to create here once again for the fourth one is just we're going to add the link, the payment link, and we're also going to add, that's the payment URL. We're also going to add the payment reference as well. Properties to update is this. I'm trying to understand how I'm going to invoice sent for status. Invoice sent. Okay. Onboarding. I could change onboarding to onboarding accepted invoice sent. I'll need to do this. Invoice sent. Invoice sent. And we have that one more in, and we're going to change this to probably a purple. The purple is better, so we have a purple in now. And the next thing we're going to, I really hope my voice is not being reduced using this. I really need to work on some gadgets and everything like that. So I'm going to get the payment URL. That is what I'm going to have from here. The payment reference is me saying, let us get this first. Let's update the data. I really need to take this off. So update a data source item. That's what we have here now. And now we can pick client. And right after we have this. Okay. And we're going to pick this, let's see, database item ID. And the person's name, that's not what, we're not trying to do all this. Contract signed is also, no, we're not trying to do it. Start, no. Payment URL, yes. Payment URL, that is what we have here from data. That is the authorization. No, this is authorization URL. This is a payment URL. So what we're looking for is, no, we are actually correct still. It's still the data authorization URL that we're going to add here. Okay, yes, the last one we're going to now add in is, we have this reference and every single thing closed. Systems views closed. We need one more here, but let's save this down. We need one more here. That is where we add payment reference. That's the reference, because we do have a reference that we have to make and we need a payment reference. Let me take this here. We are going to need a payment reference. We could just duplicate this property, have a payment reference, and have a payment reference, and a payment reference. Alright, since we have this in place now, okay, so we have three things. We still enter this, not empty, I've done that. Let's confirm every single thing. Payment reference. Okay, now we do have payment reference now, and that is where we add this reference. Now remember, we have this reference, and that was how we're able to create what with this our database ID. So what we have mapped in is the data reference now, right? So these are the things, these are the only things we want to add into it. Status type, select invoice sent. Yes, we also have to ensure we have that in as well. Says invoice sent, right? And what we have here is invoice sent. Then we let the person be onboarding, or if you've done onboarding, then active. So we could have this as the status should be invoice sent. You can see that is then saved. Alright, so let's try this again. But this time around, while we try it, we're going to what? We're going to use another detail. And that is, we're going to make another detail ourselves. That's proposal accepted, right? We're going to make another detail ourselves. What I mean is that we'll have to duplicate one of all this. We'll duplicate one of this. Let's duplicate this. Move this. Duplicate. Duplicate this. And we have this, right? Then we can save this as, let's save this as Jude. Jude. Then I'll send this to myself. I got, nope. I have to send it to myself. Then as Jude Gmail.com. We already have that. So, and the next one is the number, and we see I'm going to have to change this to active. Then I make this what proposal accepted. Then let's see, we have a 700. Let's say what we need is that is 100,000, right? That's 100,000 kobo. That's 100,000 kobo, and that should be. Review the contract is signed. Take this, we've done all this. But remember, this is proposal accepted and contract signed. Obviously, all these are contract signed because we're already active, right? So the next one says we have to create something called. We have to create a new person. We have to create a new person, and we say, or we can just map it right into Jude here. So we can map it right into Jude here. Sorry, I thought I did that last time. So map it right into Jude here. And see this is the person. Nope, not this. Thank you. So it's Jude, and digital receptionist was what I built for him, and support tickets. And it's 2, and we have all this empty. Alright, so let's run this again now. So, and that's where we're going to, let's take this camera off and let's run once again. Okay, so let's run once, and we should have this in. Okay, so we have an issue again. We have the same issue we had the other time. It's popped up again, and we have this issue because this time around we have that is, I think I brought in, that's 1,000. I brought in 1,000 now, so it's now what's giving us another issue. This is true. The value is brought in. Let's look at the value. Okay, you could just take it here, right from here. Let's look at this value. It brought in 2. It brought in 2. And we see this 700, and we also see this. This is the 500. Okay. We need to run this again. Alright, so this time around, only one came true. The one that came true is this. Let's see the one that came true. day 500 days. I really want to confirm the one that came through. It's showing 2 bundles rather than 3, because we're meant to have 3 bundles, so we have one more person in. I just don't want to have to do that, so I have to do that, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to make a very slight change quickly. One thing is that because I have to manually do this, we are missing a couple of connections in all the databases. We are missing a couple of connections there, and that is why every single thing here is only bringing out these 2 here. So it says active, however, I'm still surprised why it's working. Okay, so I'm back here again. I'm going to delete this and just make a very slight change here and just call this. And let's call this okay. This needs to say proposal accepted, a contract signed, and total projects. Okay, so what we have here now should say contract signed true. And okay, I do remember now. Contract signed is true, yes. So it is not based on, this is why. Let me do this now. So it says here that payment reference status is green, active, related projects. So I just made this proposal accepted. Let's run this again and see what happens. Proposal accepted. Let's see again. True. Reference, then the payment URL, then related projects. I believe what I'm looking for is here, active green. Let's just check here. So what I'm looking for is not active green. I'm looking for status. Next review date, status, proposal accepted, orange. ID says, this is what I'm looking for, proposal accepted. Alright, so equals to proposal accepted and should be this equals to proposal accepted. So that's what we have now. So we have to figure out what is going on here again. It worked before. The fact that it's giving us something else again is put the 4 outside quotes, which is obviously what we've done. 4 amounts inside quotes, everything is inside the quotes. Okay. Let's try to run it again. If it gives us the same problem, we are going to do it again. Okay, so we send it in and it gives us the same problem, but at least we have this now. We have this work now. Proposal accepted, no. Proposal accepted, yes. So yes, we have this. I'm still saying the same thing. What is happening here now is that the amount is being multiplied on itself. So I have to check it again. What do we have here? Let's see. Okay. Let's see and save this. The value we do have here though is 2. Maybe 2. And then maybe 2 for this. And this. Alright. That's the only difference. Do hope this works this time around. Okay, so once again, no valid JSON. Nigga, this is correct. Am I missing something? Okay, this is number, this is string, This is a string, okay, and this as well. Okay, it works this time around, and we have it updated. Let's see. So we have invoice sent finally, and we have this as well. We have this checkout. We have this finally. Yes, so we have this in now. So guys, that is what we've done here, and everything is working. Everything is finally active. I guess I kept on making mistake anytime I come here. I kept on making mistakes. So once again, you need to be careful of what you do here, because very sensitive as it looks like. And yes, so we are finally done. I didn't know it was going to take up to an hour. So we are done, and this is what happens when payments succeed. So in a case where the client actually pays, Paystack is going to fire a webhook to a URL of choice, and to automate the post payment action, you need to have that create client record, send a welcome email. This what I'm showing here now is other things that you can also build as well. So when the payments succeed, in this case you are not using what? You're not using a test API key. You're not using a test API key now. You're using a real one, because you have to what? You have to actually like fill in a couple of things here. The compliance, like what I do have here now. I might have to like take that off though, because I have some of my personal information there. So what's it called? You need to what? You need to complete every single thing if this is what you're using, or if you're using other payment platform, you can also what? Consider ensuring everything is what? In production mode. And once you have that, you can what? Create a client record. What I have here is basically saying that what? In a case where you're using the lead database and not the client database, in this case I'm actually using the client database. So since I'm using a client database, I've already created the client information before. I just had to add it to a client database. So the only difference and what I'm going to do in this case is to send a welcome email, and that is where I can now consider, since what I have here is invoice sent, then I now go to onboarding. When I switch to onboarding by myself, I can probably have another field where I get to send a welcome email. So I'm going to set that up, that once I click on onboarding, I have a different scenario entirely that handles that wants onboarding. So this time around is going to be data source item for onboarding. I'll add something like onboarding here. So that's the filter. So once it's onboarding, then I'm going to add like a Gmail that is basically doing this. You can create a separate, that's our watch data source item. Then you're going to set a filter right in between though. Then a Gmail. Send an email, and you're going to create a filter right in between here. And what it's going to say here is the filter we're going to put in place, which is onboarding. So once it's onboarding, the next thing is going to what? Provision access. So whatever thing probably the products or the services you are rendering, there should be a way you are going to give this person access to it. So yeah, so you're going to set up this webhook, and you're going to match the reference data to your Notion record, which it needs to be true. Then once you're done doing this, you have to what? Update, because what we have here is active and the rest. So once it's past onboarding, which means it needs to go to active, you have to update this. At the same time, you need to also update your lead record to close one. What I mean here is that, let's just duplicate this. So once you've done this, and you send an email, right? Once you send an email through this, the next thing what you have to do, you see filter for events, you have to also do what? A post payment action for Paystack itself, which is going to say charge successful. So you are going to get something from Paystack, and it's going to what? Say charge successful based on whatever details that you've used. So whatever you are going to use from there need to reference something like that is the payment reference. What I have here, this. That's the payment reference. That's what? Reference this. exact thing. So when it references it, once it references it, you are going to what, or once you have it referenced, you are going to what, use it to what, get a detail from Paystack itself. You get that detail. That means what I mean here, you are going to create an HTTP. You're going to create an HTTP, make a request, then you have the same thing set up. However, this time around it's going to get instead. It needs to get that exact thing. So you don't need to have the body set up though, but it needs to get that particular one. So you need to find a way to map that reference, that payment reference right into this. There's going to be a way you can work around this. If you need me to make a full video on this separately, it means we have to make a sort of probably a payment. So well, this is going to be something interesting if I actually work around that. I can write that down. So I might have to do something like that. But that means as well, I need to make my Paystack in production mode. So I need to set it up to production mode then. So if you really do need something advanced as that, then I might have to do that. I'm going to have that noted, so you get that off this camera. Anyway, so next thing we're going to do right after this, since this is get, right, this is going to get that, it's going to get this reference. And right after that, you're going to have to create that's the matching the data reference from this. Is going to what, get it to charge successful. It's going to get this from Paystack, and it's also going to match this data reference as well to your Notion record. Once it's there, we're going to update the one on the lead record, which is this. This is where we update the one on the lead record. That's the one here. Then we update this, what we have here. Then we update this. Then we update this status to closed. You can update it to closed. So once it's closed, you know that what, there's something else that you've set in place. I believe that we've done something on closed, right? I believe we've done something on that. So that is where you just set all of these things up. And the next thing we need to do is what? That's update Notion. Update Notion. That is where you update the data source item as well. But this time around, once again, you're going to use what is going to be on the lead database. That's the lead database. Okay. So what you are going to do this time around, you get database item. You map this in, then you don't map a lot of this in, then delete, I believe that's not it. In the budget, that is not it. Then the WhatsApp, no, then you mark this. This is all you need to do. This is just the only thing you need to do. Then closed. Then once you have this closed, you're done. You're basically done. You just want to ensure that yes, you have that your lead closed. Once again I said I believe that we have that closed. We did something about it. I keep having a feeling we did something about it. Let's save this as a Paystack payment and CRM update. Alright, so we are done with this. We are basically done with this. This below is just an addition I made just to explain that I want to confirm if we've really done anything about that closed. I believe we've done something about it. That once we have anything closed, it's going to kick off a particular trigger. Let's see. So we have these scenarios from here, warm lead separately. Let's check what we have. Let's just use this as where we used to check. So we have the support ticket, lead to client conversion. Okay, yes, I do remember now. So this is one of the ways where it gets to convert it. Yes, this is where we had our closed. So why we're meant to work on this was that to make it closed in the first place, we needed to fill in all of these conditions of payments to make it closed. So that means what? This time around, what we need this time is not to update that lead based on what I'm doing now. It can be closed here, but what I'm going to update instead is going to be this, and I will turn it to probably active instead. This will be my own close. That means this person is active. This will be my own close, rather than having to update the lead database. So if you guys check, you see, yes, watch if the lead is set to close status. So since we have something already closed here, which means that we are probably we've probably spoken to this person, then the best thing is what? Since this one is the one creating, in fact, the entire thing, is the one creating this, what we have here, this entire line. Once it creates it, all this is going to what? Be in place. Aside for this is going to automatically be on what? It's going to automatically be on, which is the default. The default is onboarding actually. So we need to set up a new onboarding for it. We need to set up a new default rather for it. Since this is that, we need a new onboarding. This is going to need something else. Let's see. Let's change this first to defaults. Then we need a new onboarding, right? Onboarding. So you need a new onboarding. Now we added a new onboarding now, and we have it red, gray, orange, yellow. We have a yellow. We don't have a yellow yet. All right, so we have a yellow now. So this now will finally be active, since rather than what we have here, let's change it all, and we have this in now. Okay, so this is this needs to be moved as well. This needs to be moved here. So we finally add this. What I was explaining, I need to go back to it so you guys get to understand that rather than it changing this, updating the lead database to be closed, this is finally going to what? Make it active instead. This is finally going to be active instead. So whatever you're going to connect here, don't connect the lead database, connect the clients instead. Connect the clients instead. And so you have this mapped in, and this, then this in. Okay, I believe we've missed one in, right? So we have this as what? Active now. This is what I want to set. So with all this in place, I believe that what your CRM, your database, is fully what? Functional. Every single thing we have here is fully functional, including the fact that we do have what? Paystack Setup now. The only thing we have to do now is to what? Move it from test mode to production. So yeah, that is every single thing. Now once again, the same pattern applies to other payment processors. I mentioned this earlier. This same thing applies to Stripe, Flutterwave, Paystack, then Ghana, Razorpay, and various other payment processors as well. So this is just to note that the fact that what you need to multiply this by 100. Also, you also need to multiply this in some other payment APIs. You need to also multiply this by 100 as well. Now it says here that common from payment APIs, yes. So you need to also multiply it by 100, by 100, by 100. The one for yen. So this is just no subunits. You can just leave that. I believe yen is a lot. Yen has a lot of zeros, so obviously they will do something like this. So yeah, we have all these things in place. Remember, for make.com, this was one of our first issues. This was one of our the first problem that we had. So let's update that. I believe I have this here as now as this. So I should go down here. It still basically means the same thing, but I should just go down here and add this. I could just change this. I should change this. So yeah, we have this in place now. This is what we're actually meant to what? Mapping always. So whichever one is yours is 1 or yours is 2, like what I do have. Let's change this back to all 1. And yes, so guys, that is everything that I have for today. Now the task you are meant to do for today's task basically is do every single thing I've done. Create a Paystack test account like what I have here. Then you're going to test your secret key. You are going to get your secret key. Then you're going to build this module. It's a 4 module scenario in make.com using this key. You're going to set the Notion lead or client record status. I used this, so if you use this instead, you have to follow what I did. If you are going to use lead, in this case, what you have now is you are basically saying that this person, you have to follow the other path I explained, where you have to use this lead to secure every process, every single process. This is where you can say that it will be a little bit. Why? Because you have to put an exact price for projects here. 1, 2. When it comes to this one, you have to start also adding more. That is proposal sent and many more things here. And you also have to add your payment URL and your payments reference here as well. So all these things you have to ensure you have this in place before you can effectively do what I also did here. But I would advise you to just go for what I did, because I believe that is more understandable based on what I've done as well. Then you verify the scenario run and receive your payment link via email. Actually, I received mine, and I click the payment link to confirm the payment shows the correct amount. So we're going to check that real quick now. Yes, so you can see this now. I had this in. Hi Danny, your invoice is ready. You can pay securely via the link, blah blah blah. I want to 700, this. Let's see what it gives us. So this is the checkout. The link is immediately active. Once payment is confirmed, we'll begin the onboarding process within 24 hours. Any questions? Alright, so we have this in. Wow, you can see this is actually working. So success, use any option to say success, bank authentication, decline, blah blah blah. Yep, payment successful. So guys, I'm glad we're able to work on this together. And you can see it took the checkout from my own link. So this is the redirect I gave it. But there is no page that is called this with a reference of this. So if I had something set up for that, this would have been very nice. But I don't have anything set up for that. So anyway guys, I'm glad I was able to do this with you guys, to be honest. So anyway, if you did enjoy this video or any other one, please subscribe or follow, whichever one it is. Let's do this together. Let's build together. Yeah, once again, I don't ask for emails, but your activity here push this video to other people that I believe will also need this. And if you do have a friend that wants to learn as AI automation, everything I teach here is actually free. There's no cash behind it. Everything I teach here for this 60 days series, everything is free. So I believe this is going to push, if you do send this to someone else, or a post or a tweet or anything, or you copy the link and send it to someone, this is going to really help the algorithm see that I am able to give value to others. So I appreciate this a lot, and I'm looking forward to see you guys the next day. That is day 24, and I'm pretty sure we have something very interesting as well. Alright guys, good night.